Hey guys, welcome back to Home Built, and in this episode we're going to delve a little bit deeper into this engine conversion I'm doing on the Rockster. Okay, so those of you who haven't been following, basically what I've done is I bought myself this 2003 Audi A6 with a 4.2 V8 that I've taken out, and I am going to do a conversion into my Boxster, which is the ugliest Boxster in Australia. I'll put a link up above so you can catch up with the progress so far on this car. And we pulled the engine out last week, and the next thing to do is to go over and just get the last bits I need out of this donor so I can get it out of my garage. But first, let's head back down into the back of the workshop where I'm storing the engines, and let's do a few comparisons and have a bit of a look. All right, so I just pulled the clutch off of the Rockster, and yeah, it's had some abuse. There's some deep grooves in this here, and yeah, it's not looking too great. Surprisingly, there's still a fair bit of meat on the clutch disc, which tells me that they probably changed the clutch at some stage and just chucked a new disc in. It didn't touch the pressure plate or the flywheel, so they're both looking a little bit worse for wear. For some reason, the guys who do these swaps don't use this flywheel. It is a dual mass flywheel. Yeah, at this stage, I think it's time to get the scales on these two and weigh both engines, because I know a lot of people were complaining, were already saying that the Audi V8's a massive lump, it's adding so much weight. Let's see how much it actually is. So let's compare. Let's get the scales out and put money where our mouth is. All right, so there we have 198.45 kilos. So it's pretty heavy. It's got the everything together. Actually, I can take off another maybe kilo because I've got this clutch fan that I need to take off. Quite heavy. Put it into context, the Ferrari engine is about 175 kilos. So this is quite a bit heavier. So now let's just chuck on the Rockster's engine and see what that weighs. I thought if I'm going to weigh the engines, I may as well take the clutch fan off, and I got the fan shroud off pretty easily, and I thought I could get the rest off by undoing these bolts around the pulley up here, and I was really struggling getting it off. Basically, undoing those bolts, that pulley is separate; it doesn't come off. You've got to undo this big nut here. The trouble is trying to hold the pulley still while you undo this nut. And I managed to get an Allen key into some of these holes to try and get it out, and it still wouldn't come off. It kept springing off. And I thought I'd do a little bit of research, and this nut is a reverse thread. So for anybody who's following this build, yeah, that's a reverse thread. So if you know that, then hopefully it should come off a bit easier now that I'm not turning it the wrong way. Okay, so this lump with the ECU attached is 197 kilos, pretty bang on the money. So we have that now with the clutch fan disconnected. So let's whip this over now and see what the standard Porsche engine weighed. So I'm not sure how well the camera's picking it up there, but that is 177.45 kilos. It's 20 kilos, less than 20 kilos difference between the two engines. So it's really not adding a whole lot of weight, and let's face it, the engine is in the middle of the car, so it's not changing the balance of the car very much. And this is the smaller of the two engines. The Boxster S has a 3.2 as opposed to the this, which is the 2.5, which I assume weighs quite a bit more than this. So it's probably, at a guess, on par or close to on par with the V8. So yeah, I don't think it's the weight difference is really going to make much of a noticeable difference on the track, but it's definitely worthwhile considering. As I said, you're talking a 50% power increase for 20 kilos. If you were going to put a turbo on this engine, it would probably weigh about 20 kilos by the time you had all the plumbing, intercool, all the rest of it. And I doubt you'd make that much extra power. So, or maybe about the same, but with a lot less reliability. So, yeah, I'm happy with the way we're going. I was just doing this out of interest anyway. But while I'm here, a lot of people are asking about Rockster's old engine, and I may as well pull the IMS bearing just to put some of your guys' minds at rest and see what the condition is. All right, this looks like it is the factory original bearing, and sounds perfect, feels great, and you all saw how much abuse this original car has had in its life, and that bearing seems completely fine to me. There's no sound when I'm rolling it. There's no slop. It feels sort of tight and smooth, exactly like you would want it. No dramas at all. So any of you who are still running around with an early car with the dual row bearing, which this is, and it hasn't been changed, I wouldn't lose a crazy amount of sleep stressing about these bearings. My 911 with the dual row bearing was the same, had no issues, no play, pretty much exactly like this. So I think the original bearings are good. It's the single row bearings where I would definitely be a little bit more concerned. And thanks again to LN Engineering for sending me this kit. They sent it to me for the 996. And those of you who watched that series of me changing the IMS bearing in that car, that was such a headache trying to pull the bearing. I ended up I spent a week and spent sort of 2 or 3 days just trying to pull the IMS bearing out using all sorts of bearing pullers that weren't the tool made for the job. And this is a very simple tool, but it works. It's designed for the job and it works. And that was a breeze. That took me 2 or 3 minutes. It was nothing. Whereas the amount of headaches I had on the 996, worth every cent in this tool. So yeah. Anyway, I think that's pretty much it for the Rockster's old lump now. That's done all it's going to do. So I think it's time to start cleaning up the engine and gearbox and see what we need to do about getting it ready to go into the Rockster. Okay, that's always a messy job cleaning up sort of engines and parts, but now I've got a nice clean gearbox, Rockster gearbox, and a nice clean new to the Rockster engine. That's going to make working with it in the future much nicer, much cleaner job moving forward. I did put a glove over the intake. I didn't cover the exhaust, but I kept the spray well away from them. Hopefully they're pretty good. This is the original gearbox out of the Rockster, and for those of you who weren't watching last week, it bolts directly onto this engine. I'll show it here, and there's a bit of a telltale here. It's actually an Audi logo stamped here into the side of the engine. Oh, there's another one here, and also it's got VW parts. So I'm not sure what Volkswagens. This might be on some other Volkswagens as well. But in either case, yeah, this bolts directly up to this engine, which is one of the big reasons why I chose to go this way. And one of the last things I need to do is I need to go back over to the donor car and get out the pedal, because the Rockster's original engine is actually an early Porsche Boxster engine, and it has a cable throttle, whereas the later one's actually changed over to an electronic throttle. And this Audi is an electronic throttle from factory, so I need to get an electronic throttle pedal. So let's jump into that now. All right, and I have my throttle pedal out of the car. So this is just the electronic throttle. That should be relatively, well, I was going to say it's going to be relatively simple to put into the Rockster, but who knows? It may take a little bit of engineering to get this to sit in there nicely, but that is something I can tackle on another day. I think now I basically have everything I need out of the shell of the Audi. So it's still in really good condition, and there's lots of body panels and things like that that I should be able to sell. It's got the gearbox I can sell, it's got the wheels, it's got coilovers. It's got a bunch of bits and pieces that I can just part out to help recover some of the cost of the engine. And I will keep it around for the time being, just in case I need other bits and pieces. But I think now it's time to actually drag it back out of the garage and give me back my garage space. Get this lump out of here. So if you're enjoying the concept of the Boxster V8 engine conversion, please like, subscribe, do all that sort of stuff, follow along. If you want to support the builds and all their craziness, you can join us on Patreon and watch the videos ad-free a day early. And we'll see you in the next one. All right, guys, see you later.